everyone, it's Ava here again. Today I have Miguel Hastings, and we're going to discuss how he has leveraged his knowledge in social science into landscape architecture. And yeah, Miguel, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit and what you do in your business?
Sure. Thanks, Eva. So, as you know, Miguel Hastings, I am a landscape architect in Miami, Florida, and my experience is pretty varied. I ended up in landscape architecture, and you'll hear how later on. But so yeah, that's my thing. I've recently established my own practice, and I'm looking to expand that now locally, and we'll see where it goes.
Perfect. So can I ask a little bit from your clients and the work you do? Who do you help and what kind of projects do you usually handle?
Sure. Well, as I mentioned, my practice is young, it's brand new. So the sort of clients that I'm seeking are property owners and architects who are looking for a partner to assist in the design of their outdoor spaces. In particular, social spaces, public or semi-public spaces is what I'm particularly interested in. And yet, I'm certainly open and interested in more traditional residential landscape architecture as well, because nowadays the trend is that people are living their lives outdoors more often than it used to be the case. It's more of a fashion now, especially down here in Miami. It gets a little hot in the summertime, a little muggy. But for the rest of the year, your outdoor spaces are part of your living space. And so, again, that's my real interest is, partnering with other designers and homeowners, property owners to create outdoor spaces where you can actually do some living and some interaction, relating to each other, relating to the environment.
Yeah, awesome. And so your background is in social science. Do you want to tell me a little bit of your background before you got into what you're doing now and how you kind of ended up here?
Sure. You're right. So my bachelor's degree, my first degree is in social sciences and international relations. And as part of that whole study, we acquired a pretty broad knowledge of sociology, anthropology, economics, that sort of thing. And I've always really been interested in those fields. And after graduation, I ended up working as a sort of office assistant in Washington area. It was a very exciting time because Washington is an amazing, exciting city. I know people don't say that a lot, but at the time, anyway, it wasn't the way it is now. But it was a real eye opener. And so for somebody interested in sciences and economics, history, politics, that kind of thing, it was a very good experience. But I soon got sort of bored of it. So I decided I would go back to school and study architecture. And I ended up switching to landscape architecture after I learned a little bit more about the field and discovered that it really is not just about plants, but it really is all about designing outdoor environments that are useful in some way and beautiful. So, I sort of connected the dots in my head and I thought, well, here's something which is, it's up my alley. It's creative. It's artistic. Also, it also requires a knowledge of, the way people relate to each other and relate to the environment. I mean, every architect or landscape architect will probably tell you that the field is, there is a social component to it. It's not just about, pretty looks or decorating. It really is indeed something that, something that requires a knowledge of people and how they relate to each other and the environment.
Yeah, awesome. And that's a really interesting way to connect kind of your both sides of your interests into one. I think that's really awesome. And I'm glad that I'm sure that your first degree really, really helps with what you're doing now because it gives you more insight on how people actually interact and yeah.
Absolutely. Yes, it does. It does.
That's awesome. And on this journey, when you started to become an architect, did you have any frustrations in that?
Sure. First of all, I think I don't know if you caught it, but I intended to study architecture in the very beginning. Then I ended up switching to landscape architecture after learning a little bit more about it.
Yeah.
One of the reasons for that was, I was in my, let's say, mid-20s at the time, late 20s, and I was really anxious to get going and get this career started. And right. Architecture would have meant going 2 steps back. And long story, I'll spare you the details. But landscape architecture was a quicker route to what I wanted, so I ended up switching. I'm very pleased I did, though. But again, it's a lot of hard work. It's sacrifice because, as I mentioned, going back to school after you've started your career and you've already kind of established your life, there's always a little bit of a sacrifice there, and it can be difficult. And then subsequent to that, I got my first job in the design field after graduation, and then the 2008 crash happened.
Oh yeah.
And that was another setback because along with 2/3 of the office where I work, I was let go. And so there was quite a bit of soul searching at that point. Was this the right field for me to go into? Am I ever going to make it? Because I felt that I had really suffered a major setback at that point. And I eventually found my way through it, as we all did. And interestingly enough, I ended up in a field which was not landscape architecture. So for several years, I worked as a swimming pool and water feature consultant.
Oh, wow.
It's a related field, but it's not landscape architecture. It's very technical, and I excelled at it. Surprisingly, I didn't think of myself as a technical person, but I liked it and I did well. But eventually I did sort of tire of it, and I wanted to get back to something that was more creative and a little bit broader in scope.
Right.
And so I ended up seeking employment in the field again, which also was a little bit of a challenge because having been out of the field for so many years and with a gap in your resume, it gets tough. And so eventually I did find my way back into the field, and I've never looked back. It's been a wonderful ride since then.
Awesome. Really glad you ended up where you are now. It sounds like it was a little bit of a rough ride.
A little bumpy.
Yeah, but it always is. And you get a lot of insight from that and you learn things, and
that's right.
That's awesome. That's right. So can you step by step kind of tell me the journey that you took to get where you are now from when you started in social science?
Sure. Well, I mean, as I mentioned, I had not really considered a career in landscape architecture in the very beginning. I thought I would be, working as probably in a, nonprofit organization or a governmental organization or something like that. That was the track that I was on. And I just decided one day that this is not fun. This is not what I thought it would be. It was fun. It was very, very enjoyable while I was studying it at college. It's an intellectual, awakening, really.
Yeah.
But it's different when you get out there in the world.
Oh, yeah.
So I decided that it was time to sort of reevaluate and consider what I really want to do for the next, 40 years of my working life. So I decided I'd go back to an earlier passion that I had while I was a kid, and that was architecture.
Awesome. So this is a childhood dream?
Yes, it was. Actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Unlike a lot of kids who, don't know what they want to do until, maybe still don't know what they want to do in midlife, right? I get that, but I always sort of knew what I wanted to do. And I ended up in college. I discovered other things and I veered away from it. But I decided it was time to get back to that. So as I said, I enrolled in graduate school and studied landscape architecture for 3 years, and graduated with a degree and began my journey in the field at a sort of corporate local office of a corporate sort of global architecture firm. or rather landscape architecture and planning firm, which was really exciting. Got to work on some amazing projects that, of course, involved a lot of urban planning, a lot of urban design, the thing that really sort of excited me. So I thought I was very fortunate in that respect. And so that really is how I ended up here. It was a conscious decision to get back to the thing that I always knew that I wanted to do.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that journey of yours. I think it's really like amazing how like you went from this childhood dream, but you drifted back into kind of living your dream now. That's really inspiring, especially for someone who's never had like a dream like that. I think that's really awesome.
Life is like that, though, isn't it? I mean, there's never really a path that you can be sure that you're going to follow from start to finish. We sort of lurch from one thing to another, and then we can decide to go one way or the other, and it just is a never-ending branch of possibilities. Still, my story is still not over. No one's is.
Definitely not. No, it's exciting starting a new business and everything. It's like a new chapter all over again.
Exactly right.
And do you have like advice for other people who are kind of starting in the same journey that you did on like what recommendations or encouragement do you have?
Of course. I mean, my advice would be, don't be daunted by setbacks. Setbacks are guaranteed. Anything that you want and that you are striving toward, anything worth it is going to have setbacks. It's not going to be easy. But you've got to be sure that you want it, because you're going to need to draw on all your powers of perseverance and stick-to-itiveness that you can get, because it's not going to just appear and fall in your lap. So you do need to stick to it. You need to be passionate about it, and don't be discouraged by setbacks. Keep plowing away. It can happen. I think it's within the reach of anyone who wants it bad enough. Yeah. So don't be discouraged. Go for it.
Awesome. Great advice. And who do you think would be a good fit for this type of transformation?
Do you mean
like, does it take like a certain type of person to kind of do what you do, or?
Well, I'll tell you something. It's a very broad field, and no matter what you're good at, I think you can probably find something within landscape architecture or architecture that can be your thing. If you're a people person, that is definitely a good quality in a landscape architect. It's a very highly collaborative field. So you're going to need to coordinate and collaborate and partner with a lot of different people. If you're not a people person and you're maybe more of a technical behind-the-scenes person, you can focus your career, or rather, you can try to steer your career in that regard, because there's also plenty of opportunity to be, maybe a technical designer or somebody who's good at drafting and drawing. That too is something you can focus on. But generally, I would say, though, that it helps. It not just helps. I think it's essential to really be passionate about the field. Like any profession, it's got its sticky points that not everyone is going to like, but the rewards are totally worth it. So I would say that yes, no matter what your disposition is, no matter what your interests are, you can find something in landscape architecture. If you're lucky, you can find a team to work with who can complement your talents. So that's something to strive toward as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And with a team, you can also kind of cover up for the parts that you are not your strengths. So you can have somebody else be that their strength. Oh, awesome.
And the best teams are just that. They're people who are good at the thing that they do and who communicate well with their partners. That makes a great team, I think.
Yeah. Great. And how about if somebody is kind of on the fence about taking this step of entering this journey? Do you have any advice, or why should they take action right now?
Starting a business particularly, or do you mean maybe? Yeah, well, I mean, I believe it's very much a personal choice, but I believe that, I mean, every choice we make has its ups and its downs. There's always going to be a compromise somewhere. For me, I think it was worth it to have a certain amount of control over your own destiny. Then,
Yes.
you know, you choose the clients you, if you're lucky. I mean, we all hope to get to that point where we can choose the clients we want to work with, take the kind of jobs that we like to do, and I think you have a better chance of being able to work that out if you have full autonomy. And that means going into business for yourself. Of course, the downside is it's a little riskier financially, and it requires a lot of hard work and a lot of initiative. But again, as I said earlier, if you want it badly enough, you'll find it. There's no reason to think you can't have it. You know, just remind yourself that whatever you want, you can have it. You just gotta want it badly enough. You know, it may involve a little compromise. It may, you know, there may be surprises, setbacks along the way, of course. But as I said, if you want it badly enough, go for it.
Perfect. And what about like a number one piece of advice for a person who's about to jump into having their own business right now?
I would say jump. Just do it.
Just do it.
Absolutely do it. Don't worry about the downsides. Just jump in with both feet. A little bit of planning never hurts, of course, but don't, you know, just do it. Don't let naysayers discourage you. Do it.
Great. Anything else you want to tell me about, something that I didn't ask you?
Well, I think you covered it pretty well. I mean, we talked about a little bit about my history, my journey into the field. I mean, I just guess I'd leave you with this, and that is that so far, as I mentioned, my business is a young business. I just started it, and it's growing slowly but surely.
Yeah.
It's been great. You know, I've had some setbacks, of course. That's a theme of this conversation, isn't it? But overall, it's been totally worth it, and I learn new things every day. No matter the number of previous jobs I've had, no matter the number of previous projects I've worked on, no matter the number of previous people I've worked with, there's always something new to learn. There's always a new experience around the corner, and it's exciting. It's a joy.
Awesome. Perfect. Can I ask, where can people find more information about you online? Do you have LinkedIn, website?
Sure. I do have a LinkedIn page, and my business. I'm just working on a website now. It's under construction, but I'll go ahead and give you the URL anyway. It's
awesome.
ardentla.com. So it's ARDENTLA.com.
Okay.
So the name of the business is Ardent Landscape Architecture.
Perfect. Thank you so much. This was been a very insightful chat. I really appreciate you sharing your story with me. And yeah, bye everybody.
Thanks, Eva. Bye.
Bye.